Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us again on this episode of the European Soccer Show, brought to you by me and Leo. Hi, Leo.
Hi, Daniel. How are you?
You like the fact that I left a little opening there for any potential sponsors in the future? Okay, I have a bit of a cold. As you know, I was meant to donate blood today, but it's dangerous to donate blood when you're unwell. So I'll be doing that next week when I can feel up to it. But yes, so we are a few days late. Apologies to everybody watching this, discussing the weekend's action in the European top 5 leagues. But my goodness, there's a lot to get through. And considering we always want about an hour for the show, we don't have time to talk about the Champions League. We don't have time to talk about the World Cup draw. My goodness. But what we do have time to talk about are some nonsensical statistics and obscure things you may have missed in other leagues. But let's start with some of the big ones. We're going to start with the Premier League. Mohamed Salah's outrageous statement to the press is the hot topic. But it's been a busy week in regards to the fixtures. So for those of you who missed it, there was actually a week ago, there were midweek fixtures. Bournemouth lost at home against Everton 1-0. There was the insane Fulham 4, Manchester City 5 result. Man City were 5-1 up in that match before Fulham almost pulled off one of the greatest comebacks of all time. Newcastle United somehow drew 2-2 at home to Spurs. Romero scoring the worst overhead kick in the history of the world. And then on Wednesday, Arsenal defeated Brentford 2-0. Brighton lost at home against Aston Villa 4-3. What a match that was. Burnley lost at home against Crystal Palace 1-0. Wolves lost at home against Nottingham Forest 1-0. Leeds United 3, Chelsea 1. We've been asking the last few weeks, are Chelsea the second best team in England? Possibly not, losing at Leeds 3-1. Liverpool drawing at home against Sunderland, who are currently above them in the table, and Manchester United 1, West Ham United 1. But we're going to skip over that and go to the weekend's action. So first of all, rather than read out the results, let's talk about the main headline, which was Arsenal have lost. That's right, they lost away at Villa Park. Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 1. Apart from being an impressive victory for Aston Villa, who really were fantastic in this game, it possibly had one of the best goal-mouth scrambles at the end, didn't it? It's quite satisfying when you have that much of a scramble for Emi Buendia. Shoot, block, there, flat. So there were about 7 or 8 different phases before it finally went in. Very, very satisfying ending with the last kick of the game. Really was the ending the game deserved.
Yeah, firstly, as you said, it was really deserved from Aston Villa. We have to remember then that until late September, I think, they didn't have score a Premier League goal. So it's impressive to see them where they are today. They are second or third in the league, third, I think. So impressive victory.
Currently third, yes, third in the table.
Just three points behind Arsenal, whom we have talked about a lot this past week, putting them like real title contenders. And it's impressive how Aston Villa managed, and Unai Emery, of course, managed to turn the wheel in their favor. It was incredible, and as for Arsenal, because of course they lose, it's quite surprising. But we have to admit that they have faltered in the big games this season. So it's a problem for them. They lose to Liverpool, if you remember the. I think it was Szoboszlai.
Yeah, a ridiculous Szoboszlai free kick away from being a draw. But yeah.
Yeah, they didn't manage to win against Manchester City, Sunderland, Chelsea, now Aston Villa. So they allowed their opposition to catch up in the table, and now we can see that.
Yeah, fair. Although I was thinking about this. So Aston Villa currently third, only 3 points behind Arsenal, and the talk about them is why they are and aren't in the title race. I've been thinking about sequences because we're also talking about in recent weeks Atletico Madrid being like somehow getting back into the title race, and it's amazing that they've earned the right to be in the discussion, and yet 2 results later and suddenly it's no, they're not. So it's that thing of Aston Villa have won 9 of their last 10 matches, so it does feel like they're at the not necessarily the end of the sequence, but this is soon going to stop. Like, it's very hard to get these winning sequences and continue for over 10 matches. So it does feel like Aston Villa are inevitably going to dip slightly over the next few weeks. The question is, do Arsenal and Manchester City both at the same time? Because apart from Arsenal, no team has been consistent this year.
No,
although you can argue that Aston Villa have been very consistent if you ignore the first month.
But we have obviously, we must obviously note that Arsenal lack key players such as William Saliba, who has
Gabriel.
Gabriel, and Saliba's absence is strange if we just refer to Mikel Arteta's words. Gabriel also lack of, and of course Mosquera too. So it's a lot in that sector. Even if Arsenal have a real depth in defense, losing 2 or 3 key players.
But of course, this is why they purchased all the centre backs over the last couple of years. Also, lacking centre backs is a theme of today because we're going to be obviously coming on to things like Real Madrid later on. But it does seem to be a consistent theme. Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 0. Not a great week for Chelsea after being talked into the title race, losing at Leeds United and drawing at Bournemouth, who actually are on a string of quite poor results. Have Chelsea just run out of steam a bit?
I don't think so. I just saw an impressive statistic that said that this is the first time since the opening day of the Premier League that Chelsea have failed to score, so against Bournemouth. And if you watch the game, they also could have lost this one. Semenyo scored but was offside, if I remember correctly. By the way, Semenyo, he continues his streak without scoring. He's in difficult times
ever since his release clause was made public.
Yeah. So will Liverpool or Manchester City pay for this clause? I don't know, but he has to find his strength back.
Jumping on something you said, because you talk about Chelsea, obviously only the first time they've not scored in a match since the opening day of the season.
Yeah.
But it's interesting considering how few goals their strikers score. So João Pedro, though he scored in the Champions League yesterday, they did lose to Atalanta. But himself, Delap, they're not actually contributing that many goals. So it is quite strange that Chelsea are regularly scoring, but they're not coming from their forwards.
Yeah, because for the forwards, we can also include Cole Palmer. They were injured for a long time, but it also shows that Chelsea have a bunch of players capable of scoring. We can think, of course, of Pedro Neto, who has been in form. They have a lot, real depth in the attacking sector. Who scored yesterday for Chelsea? Reece James has been impressive since the Barcelona game. He scored yesterday, if I'm not wrong.
I thought it was João Pedro, but I must be wrong.
He scored an offside goal, Reece James. So he didn't score, but he is capable of. Garnacho can score also. We can mention also Liam Delap. So they have a lot of players capable of scoring, and it's a strength. But yeah, they will need more goals from João Pedro, from Delap, from Palmer when he will be 100% fit. So
be interested to see where he fits in with is it Fernandez? With him, because currently he's been playing obviously in a more advanced position, and if Cole Palmer comes back, does he play in the number 10? Does he play off the right? Looking at some other results, a wonderful result for Everton against Nottingham Forest, 3-0, really impressive, with Thierry Barry getting his first goal, which everyone's very happy about. Manchester City 3, Sunderland 0. I thought I'd bring this up because everyone's raving about Ryan Cherki's assist, but although everybody apart from Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
So, for those who've not seen it, would you describe it for them?
Oh, I think you have the best word to say it, because don't
Yes, but
forget
you
I'm
love
French, please.
Cherky, so I thought
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cherky, but it, is the name Trivella in
Travella,
English?
yeah,
Yeah.
or I thought it was a
So
Rambona.
yeah, Rambona. Yeah, he made a Rambona assist to Phil Foden's header, and
Which is
of course it's
bizarre
brilliant. Yeah,
because it's on his left foot and he's dominantly left-footed. I mean, he's a two-footed player, but the fact
yeah.
is, it was on his left foot and he still somehow chose to use his
But I
slightly
think
weaker foot as a Rambona.
yeah, he's truly, I think, a genius of football, because he can do a lot of things that others can't do. And I noticed that it was only the second time in the Premier League history that an assist was being made that way. And do you know who is the other player to have made it?
Honestly, my mind goes to Eric Lamela, but because I know he scored one.
He scored against Arsenal.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but no,
I
it
can't.
was
The
Dimitri
thing is,
Payet
that's a cool one.
with West Ham.
Yeah, the thing is, the funny thing is, I'm fairly certain Lamela scored twice, like through Rambonas. But one might have been in the Europa League. Anyway, so moving on from there, Newcastle United 2, Burnley 1, Spurs to Brentford 0. Xavi Simon's first goal for Spurs, really lovely goal. But what I wanted to come also note on Sunday's goals: Brighton 1, West Ham United 1, Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 2. I'll come back to that a bit later on. But I wanted to mention Leeds United 3, Liverpool 3. Now, a couple of things we need to talk about. One, as we've already mentioned in the chat, the fact that I predicted Leeds United would get 4 points against Chelsea and Liverpool. Big up me.
Yeah.
What did I say this in the chat? I think I described myself as Nostradamus reborn. But what I want to talk about is I want to talk about Leeds as opposed to Liverpool, because Liverpool's difficulties in defence have been well documented. But Leeds United have shown like incredible character this week, and not just as a team, but also in support of Daniel Farke, who was under intense pressure. Leeds United slipping into the relegation zone, and yet have scored 6 goals against Chelsea and Liverpool in a change of system. So it seems like the tweak of formation for Daniel Farke switching to a 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 seems to actually suit the team better, going more direct and more physical.
Yeah, I think that system suits his team, especially at Ellen Road, which is a stadium really. There is a lot of noise in it, maybe more than some of the Premier League. So they like an aggressive style of play.
Yeah, it's a cauldron at times. It's fantastic.
And because we have to recall that against Chelsea and against Liverpool, they played home, so it maybe helped them. And I don't know if you remember, but last week or 2 weeks ago, we've talked about the chances of Daniel Farke and Scott Parker being
the next managers to be sacked.
Yeah, the next manager, and we said that Scott Parker had the best chances to stay at Burnley, while maybe it would be difficult for Daniel Farke with the series of games he had to face. And finally, as you said, they beat Chelsea. They deserved to beat Chelsea. They drawn against Liverpool, even if Liverpool, we can talk about the Konate's fools. I don't know why he did that. The determination of Leeds player, it was also a deserved drawn. But 4 points against that kind of adversity is really impressive for this team. So really good for Daniel Farke, and it shows that his team back him in the adversity. So
absolutely. So let's looking at the table. I'm going to throw some numbers, and it's going to sound a bit spurious, but I just kind of want to highlight a couple of things, because we speak so often about gaps in the table and when they start to appear and how many teams they encompass. So from Arsenal in first to Crystal Palace in fourth, again, Palace are fourth. I love this table at the minute, even though Newcastle are nowhere near the top. Like Villa in third, Palace in fourth. You got Sunderland there, as well as Brighton and Everton. It's very fun. Yes, between Arsenal in first and Palace in fourth, that's 7 points. Then between Palace in 4th and Bournemouth in 13th place, that's 10 teams. They're separated by 6 points, which is so a slightly smaller gap between 1 and 4th and 4th and 13th. So the idea being that if you win a couple, you really can shift. But then interestingly, in 14th is Brentford. 6 points below them are West Ham in 18th. So it's interesting that you've got only 5 teams between Brentford and West Ham. That's 6 points. And you've got 10 in the from like the middle to the Champions League, and then you've got 3 right at the top. And I think part of the reason I bring this up because I always think about Mets. Mets were fun to watch for a few weeks. They won, what was it, 3 wins on the bounce they got, which is really exciting. But they are still bottom of league earn. But the big difference is they had 3 wins on the bounce just to give themselves a chance because they're still within touching distance. You think about Wolves. Hypothetically, if Wolves win their next 4 matches, they are still in the relegation zone. It's like, so that kind of context, they would jump Burnley, assuming Burnley lose the 4 matches.
And I don't want to be mean with them, but I don't think they will win this.
Well, you can't see them winning 4 matches across the whole season. But yeah, it's a dire situation there. Right, let's park the Premier League there. This is probably going to be a long show because we've got a couple of, but that's the midweek done, basically. We've got a couple for La Liga. Speaking of which, La Liga. Let's see how those title favourites Atletico got on. Yes. No, they didn't do very well. So in midweek in La Liga, Barcelona beat Atletico 3-1. And my goodness, they made it look pretty easy, or rather impressive. Atletico actually took the lead in that game through Baena. But then Rafinha equalised before half-time before goals from Dani Olmo and Ferran Torres, who's had a wonderful week, sealed the win for Barcelona. And wow, think back to Wednesday. Real Madrid actually looked impressive last week, winning 3-0 at Athletic Club. Trent Alexander-Arnold getting his first assist of the season, setting up Mbappe, and what an assist it was before he then got injured. He's probably out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. But goals through Camavinga and another one from Mbappe sealed the win. But perhaps more importantly was the injury to, was it Militao got injured in that game?
Yeah.
So another injury for Real Madrid centre-back, which leaves them with 1 fit centre-back, which is quite troubling. But other results. So on Friday, Real Oviedo 0, Mallorca 0. That was the worst game ever until the last minute of regular time when Santi Cazorla got sent off. And then there was another red card for Mallorca. By the way, heads up, there are a lot of red cards in La Liga this week. I wish we had a little ticker up here as we count them. There are 7 in 10 matches over this weekend. So yes, on Saturday, Villarreal, they are the big contenders for Barcelona, winning 2-0 against Getafe, red card in that game. Alaves beat Real Sociedad 1-0. Real Betis 3, Barcelona 5. Ferran Torres with a hat-trick as well as goals for Lamine Yamal. Rooney Baji, who also got a goal and an assist to open his account. Shockingly, Anthony actually opened the scoring for Real Betis for that one. Athletic Club 1, Atletico 0. Terrible week for Atletico. And then on Sunday, Elche with a brilliant result against Girona 3-0. Valencia snatched a draw in the last minute of stoppage time, 1-1 against Sevilla. Espanyol's wonderful season continues, 1-0 victory over Rayo Vallecano. Red card for each of those teams. Osasuna, the relegation fight. Osasuna won 2-0 against Levante, which is precious victory there. But we're going to start with the thing that everyone's been talking about was Real Madrid 0, Celta Vigo 2. 2 goals for Svelberg for Celta Vigo. More interestingly, I guess, there were 3 red cards for Real Madrid, one of which was a substitute. It seems like the wheels are coming off slightly because obviously a lot of pressure on Xabi Alonso, a lot of chat over Real Madrid's form recently, and you have 2 players being sent off essentially for dissent. Both players, Fran Garcia getting a yellow card and then receiving a yellow card within a minute. For dissent, and it was Carreras receiving 2 yellow cards in quick succession, the second one for foul and abusive language towards the referee. So it does feel like the pressure is clearly getting to some of the Real Madrid players, and it's not a great look on the management, this.
Yes, it is. And we saw that tonight can be the last game of Xabi Alonso at the helm of Real Madrid in case of a defeat to Manchester City, which shows the difficulty of the situation. I also saw that the fans were going to accompany the bus to the stadium, which means something at Real Madrid. We are just talking about a game against Manchester City in the league phase of the Champions League. So everything shows that there is a problem at the club. To go back to the game against Celta Vigo. I don't know if you saw the second goal from Swedberg. Yeah, it was like
they were his first 2 goals in the La Liga, I believe.
Yeah,
and yet the second one was the most composed finish from a striker.
It's like a FIFA goal coded. It was a FIFA coded goal, and it's something the opponents never do usually at the Bernabeu. So it shows that
Celta Vigo's first victory at the Bernabeu for 20 odd years, I believe.
Yeah, and Celta Vigo, a team which has drawn 7 games at the start of the season, and now they come to beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. You've mentioned a third red card. It was allowed given to Hendrick.
Yes. To be clear, he was still on the substitutes bench, so it wasn't as if Real Madrid went down to 8 players, but he still received a red card for his protestations.
And to talk about the one from Fran Garcia and the one from Alvaro Carreras, I don't know if you will agree, but I think it's professional mistakes because being sent off in the space of 1 minute or 2 minutes for players of Real Madrid it's
embarrassing.
It's a shame.
Quite frankly.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
But also, I mean, I suppose the reason I highlighting the fact that it basically highlights just how under pressure all the players are, because you get the feeling that the fact for Frank Garcia in particular, because they were 2 yellow cards in the space of a minute, that shows a lack of a lack of intelligence, quite frankly, football intelligence, but also, that lack of composure, the ability to just calm yourself down. Clearly, the pressure got to him, and you do think that Carreras probably the similar thing applies. Perhaps he doesn't respond to that if Real Madrid are, going swimmingly and only 1 point off Barcelona, and no one's chatting about Xabi Alonso. Perhaps those red cards don't happen.
Yeah. This is difficult, and if we just talk about the game in itself, they played poorly once again. When we have mentioned that they are maybe Mbappe dependent, when I see some people saying that Mbappe could be a problem for Real Madrid because he doesn't really want to share the light and everything, I can't agree with that, because if he doesn't score, Real Madrid, they are in trouble, big trouble. I don't know if you see during the last hours, because he was said to maybe be absent for the game tonight, and some people said, who can replace him, who can score goals if he's not here? So I don't think he's a problem. I think he's the solution at Real Madrid.
Well, we've spoken about this before, right? Like referencing Manchester City, talk about like when you have one of the great world goal scorers in the world currently, you try to get the best out of them. You sort of you make use of it. Like if they're going to score, I think someone put it really well in one of the Athletic podcasts recently, which was when you have a player that is pure output, it's like you get the most out of them. Therefore, if the output stops, that's when it's a concern. In the referencing Mohamed Salah, who last season had one of the best seasons in English football ever, and yet this season has barely posted anything. So when a player is completely absolute output, you forgive the lack of work rate and the lack of defensive awareness, and when there's no output, then that's when there's a problem. Either you then try and fix it to get that output again, or you use that as an opportunity to adjust tactics. But in this case, because Mbappe has been purchased with one very specific reason, which is to be the front and center of Real Madrid for as long as possible.
And you are talking about, we are talking about Kylian Mbappe, and we have to note that his men with him. If we talk about Rodrigo, who hasn't scored for I don't know how many times we said it.
I think it's
back in March or January. Vinicius is the shadow of his past him. Valverde, Bellingham, Camavinga, they are all playing the way they should play is far from their actual level.
Do you feel
Like
that? Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
go.
But it's been remarked that they miss of all the players they would ever miss. They're missing Toni Kroos. They're missing Luka Modric.
Yeah.
They're not just because of their technical ability in the middle, but the leadership. So the fact that you've got this team full of individually some of the just the best players in the world, and they are astonishing. But it does seem that there's a lack of gelling, which was a shame that Trent Alexander-Arnold getting injured in the previous match was such a shame, because it looked like it does feel like he's one of those, much like him providing Mohamed Salah, right? So perhaps he's one of those where, because of the individual qualities he brings in a very specific role, that actually can unlock the powers of other people. But we should probably park Real Madrid there.
You just mentioned Modric and Kroos. They both departed recently. And all due respect to Bellingham, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, technically speaking, they are miles away, maybe universe away from them. And I think we underrated that lack of big players in that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk about like sort of once in a generation, those like midfield dictators, and or the registrar. What is it? The registrar, the director, and yet they had two of them. But we should probably talk about Barcelona, because Barcelona have had a wonderful week. 3-1 against Atletico, 5-3 at Real Betis, top of La Liga by 4 points ahead of Real Madrid. Although Villarreal are third on 35, but they have a game in hand. So if Villarreal win that, they're only 2 points behind Barca. My goodness. So Barcelona all looking pretty, which should go back to recently when I think Hansi Flick was interviewed after their Barcelona's loss to Chelsea in the Champions League a couple of weeks back. He pointed to the fact he was criticized for comments around being optimistic and being hopeful, saying like, actually, I think there's a lot good, and people are obviously picking apart like, this is such an atrocious performance. But it does feel like there's a lot right about this. Without obvious, there are obvious caveats with this in regards like defensive frailties and good teams being able to find them out. But there's a lot to love about this side as well, isn't there?
Yeah. Firstly, Hansi Flick is a coach I really love, because I like people who are ready to die with their ideas. I think he knows that his defensive eye line doesn't work as well as it was last season, because a lot of people point the fact that they allow the attackers to run deep in the back of the defense, but it was the same thing last season. But the only difference is that there is no longer Inigo Martinez, who was one of his main men in the defense, and the fact that all the players, they are playing really, really bad in that just that eye line thing this season. But I like the fact that he doesn't want to do anything else, because he trusts his player, and I think it's important for them to know that their manager trusts them. So that's cool. And since that Chelsea game, they won their 4 games, plus the 3 games plus the one against Frankfurt yesterday, even if it wasn't
a brace for Jules Koundé.
Yeah, and it was good for him, because we know that he's a little bit in mental trouble since the start of the season. And we have to note that since the first match day, Hansi Flick had to deal with a lot of injuries. We can mention Joan Garcia, who was out for 2 months. Lewandowski wasn't here. Lamine Yamal with his pubalgia, and he needed to found back his fitness. Gavi isn't here. Pedri has also had some setbacks, so he didn't have his full squad. And now that his squad is being full, we can see that they score goals. They scored 5 against Real Betis this weekend. They scored 2 against Atletico midweek. Important victories.
3 against Atletico.
3 against Atletico. Yeah. 3 against Atletico. It was really a perfect week for Barca because they have now a 4-point lead over Real Madrid. They beat both Atletico, Frankfurt for their first game back at the Camp Nou in the Champions League, and a big clash against a big opponent. So credit to Hansi Flick for that.
Absolutely. Also, you made that actually good point in the running order on the program that Atletico's 2 performances, one losing 3-1 at Barcelona and losing 1-0 at Athletic Club, both away matches. He could probably be a bit more forgiving. Absolutely right. At the table, a quick word on the league table. So Barca on 40, Real Madrid on 36, Villarreal on 35, but with the game in hand. Atletico now on 31. But a word on, just a quick word, just highlighting Espanyol, who are currently 5th. Espanyol, what a season they're having on 27. Real Betis in 24, Atletico 23. And a quick look at the bottom, because it's very interesting. Girona are 18th. They are in the relegation zone and within 3 points of Mallorca, Valencia, and Osasuna. So a potential relegation battle there. But we should probably park La Liga there and travel over to Italy with Serie A. Okay, so Serie A. Last week, midweek, there were some cup matches, so we just got the weekend to deal with. So, first of all, the newly promoted Sassuolo defeating Fiorentina 3-1. Fiorentina took the lead and thought they could finally get some points, but Sassuolo came back to win 3-1 on Saturday. Then Inter defeated Como 4-0. Big old bump back down to reality for Como. Goals from Lautaro Martinez, Marcus Thuram, Çalhanoğlu, and Carlos Augusto. You also had a brilliant victory for Hellas Verona, beating Atalanta. Hellas Verona, who are currently 19th. Defeating Atalanta.
Their first win of the season.
The very first one. And they were 3-0 up until the 81st minute. So Atalanta really couldn't deal with them. But moving on to Sunday. Sunday was very fun. Cagliari, the relegation threatened Cagliari defeating Roma 1-0. Caveat that Roma did have a red card for Celik in the 52nd minute, and Cagliari scored a late goal, but still big victory for Cagliari. Lazio 1, Bologna 1. Gila getting sent off for Lazio in that match as well. Cremonese, another victory for them, beating Lecce 2-0. But the big game on Sunday, Napoli 2, Juventus 1. Rasmus Højlund getting a brace there in a very impressive victory for Napoli. And then on Monday night, we had Pisa 0, Parma 1, Udinese 1, Genoa 2. A lot of victories for these relegation-threatened sides. And then a brilliant match, Torino 2, AC Milan 3. I'm going to start actually at the bottom. So Fiorentina are currently last place. They are 3 points behind 19th, which is Hellas Verona. They are 4 points behind Pisa in 18th. They are now 7 points from safety, which is Lecce. No team has survived having had so few points at the start of the season. They are one of only 2 teams yet to win across the top 5 leagues. It's them and Wolves. It breaks your heart to say this, but it looks like Fiorentina, they're going to need a minor miracle to survive this.
Yeah, the situation is becoming more and more complicated, especially given, as you've mentioned, Hellas Verona secured their first win of the season against Atalanta with a fine performance. And yesterday, Parma beat Pisa in a clash between 2 bad placed teams. It gives them a small lead upon Fiorentina and the bottom of the table. So really, really impressive. Fiorentina haven't won a single game this season. It's
And this is, and as I know we've said this time and time again, but this is despite them spending, what was it, 90-something million euros?
yeah,
this summer.
they spent.
This is beyond bizarre.
Yeah.
Why this is happening?
Yeah, they spent about even 100 million euros during the summer transfer mercato. So no one could have expect that from them, especially since they were playing in a European final 2 seasons ago. So
like I say, it breaks your heart for one of the classic teams. But also, as well as being a wonderful title race, Serie A is going to provide us with a hell of a relegation scrap, because you have Fiorentina on 6, Hellas Verona on 9, Pisa on 10, Lecce on 13, so there's a 3-point gap between. But then you have on 14 Torino, who have been sucked back into it, Cagliari, Genoa, and Parma. So you do have 4 teams on 14. So Lecce, so you got 5 teams who are just outside the relegation zone. But apart from Torino, they all won, which is the bizarre thing. So yeah, they've really creating that gap, earning the breathing space. But let's bounce back up to the top. So currently AC Milan are top on goal difference and head-to-head against Napoli on 31. AC Milan coming from 2 goals down against Torino to win 3-2 with goals from Rabiot and 2 from Christian Pulisic. This was a really impressive result from AC Milan, because it looked like the game had got away from them, and yet the changes made by Allegri really worked, and actually he changed the game.
Yeah, first I think they should be happy about the whole Rabiot situation that happened in Marseille last summer, because Rabiot is proving to be one of Milan's best signings so far this season. He scored a superb goal against Torino, and Pulisic, he scored a brace, and he continues his flying start to the season. So very, very good for them. We've previously mentioned that they are not playing European football this season, so it can be an advantage for the team to know that they don't have to rest some players for the Champions League, Europa League, or Conference League. So real advantage. So let's see where they can go.
And yet, despite the fact that they're not playing European matches, they are only ahead on goal difference / head-to-head against Napoli. Napoli defeating Juventus 2-1. The scoreline was close, but actually the performance was fantastic. Actually, from Napoli, it does feel like Conte got one over Spalletti. It was this great sort of thing, because obviously Conte, a great former Juventus manager, Spalletti, the great former Napoli manager, both of them winning titles with their former clubs. But it did feel like Conte won a real tactical battle there, because minus a little bit of tiny bit of sparkle from Yildiz for Juventus, Napoli dominated this.
Yeah, it did, and it was really important for Conte to win this game, because for those who don't know about the Napoli-Juve historic, it's the biggest game for them in Italy. So they really needed this win. David Neres, we've talked about him during the past weeks. He has also been impressive, being decisive on the 2 goals, one assist, and one pass.
It's very unlike a Conte side, isn't it? Because obviously, first of all, the fact that at Napoli he's not playing his 3 at the back sort of system, which he's used across his entire career. He's had to adapt that, but also now he's playing with these tricky wingers in David Neres and Noah Lang. It just feels very un-Conte.
Yeah, but when you play, when you have that these players, and Rasmus Højlund at the as your forward striker, it's easier to play with this kind of wingers, I think, because you know that Rasmus Højlund is a real striker, a real nine. He will be in the box when. Sorry
I
to say that
don't mean
because
to laugh, but again, it's just
yeah,
again, you think
when you
about
remember,
a player away from Manchester United and thinking,
yeah,
oh yeah, that's why they spent 72 million euros on him, because when he
that's
was in
it.
Italy, he was
That's it.
very good.
He is very good, or at least he's in Serie A, because when he was scouted by Manchester United, he was then playing for Atalanta. But he's a real nine. So if you have tricky wingers, who know that if they put some balls in the box, they will find their striker. It's easier to play with. And Noah Lang and David Neres are this kind of players. So really, really good for them. Højlund scored a brace, his first goals since October. So for him, it's a good occasion to score against Juventus. And yeah, Napoli are now back at the top, or joint top, of the table. So
I forgot to mention that Jamie Vardy is now up to 4 goals for Cremonese, and is actually with an outside shout of being the top goal scorer of the season, because he's only 2 goals behind the leader, I think. So yeah, it's not impossible. But yeah, looking at the top of the table, so AC Milan are on 31 ahead of Napoli, also on 31, and Inter on 30 after that 4-0 victory against Como. It felt like Como. It's harsh to describe them as naive, because obviously Cesc Fabregas offers a very unique tactical thought in this side. But sort of Como also one of the more pressing sides, much like Bologna. They press a lot more than the other teams in Italy, and it just feels like actually the quality of Inter. That's what felt naive, actually trying to press players that are this good under pressure and with that level of composure who could just pass through it. They just picked them off, didn't they?
Yeah. After the game, Fabregas was interviewed about how they played and why he didn't strengthen their defense, and he said that he could have played in 6-3-1, but it is not how he wants his team to play. So he stayed with his ideas, and he also said that the only difference it was that Inter have 2 elite strikers with Marcus Thuram and Lautaro Martinez, and I think he is right, because
he also referenced the fact that now, unlike other seasons, now they have backup, like quality backups to Marcus Thuram and Lautaro Martinez.
And if you just take a look at the statistics of Inter since the start of the season, they have the best attack in Serie A. This is the 8th time this season they have scored 3 or more goals in a game. They have 13 different players who scored this season, and it speaks volume about these teams.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So it speaks volume about these teams' attacking prowess.
So a little gap opening up between Inter in 3rd, Roma in 4th on 27, Bologna still in 5th, 25, Como in 6th, 24, Juventus 7th, 23, a full 8 points behind the leaders. But also 3 points behind them in 8th and 9th, Sassuolo and Cremonese. So wonderful season for them. Let's park Serie A there, because this is going to be a long show anyway. Ligue 1. Ligue 1. So how do Monaco follow up that incredible victory against Brest, followed by a defeat? Well, it's another defeat. That's right. Monaco fall flat with Brest. So Brest winning 1-0 against Monaco. Despite the fact Brest had a red card on the hour mark, and yet somehow Monaco couldn't find a way through. Lille, very impressive Lille victory, 1-0 over Marseille. The lesser spotted Mbappe, Ethan Mbappe, scoring the 10th minute there. On Saturday, Lens won 2-1 at Nantes, with a winning goal for Saïd with 10 minutes to spare. Strasbourg's poor turn of form continues, losing 1-0 at Toulouse. Paris Saint-Germain won 5-0 against Rennes, but who cares about that? Then on Sunday, On Sunday, Nice lost at home 1-0 against Angers because, of course, they did. Auxerre, the big relegation battle match there, Auxerre winning 3-1 at home against Metz. Le Havre and Paris FC drew 0-0. And then Lorient, your beloved Lyon, losing against relegation-threatened Lorient 1-0 with Maitland-Niles getting a red card. A second yellow card, I should say.
Talking about Lyon, I saw we received a comment. So here it is for Lyon and Salah. So if some Reds fans are here, someone, Tony, gave us an idea about a possible replacement to Mohamed Salah. Let's see what the future.
How long has Alfonso Moreira been at Lyon?
I really like his profile. He was bought this summer for 2 million euros from Sporting, who are playing with a lot of wingers, and he's been really impressive. To be honest, it's not because he's at Lyon or something. He's a young player. We have to recall that the only dynamic winger for Lyon, so Malik Fofana, has been injured for weeks now. But Afonso Moreira isn't the starter for Lyon, and some ask why, because every time he enters the pitch, he's or decisive or making something good for the team. So I think he's a young player to watch.
Honestly, if this was 2 years ago, I think the natural replacement for Mohamed Salah would be Jared Bowen. But that ship's probably passed. Right, okay, but looking at the top of the table, so Lens winning 2-1 at Nantes. Obviously, Nantes in the relegation zone. Put up a real fight, and it did take Lens until the last 10 minutes to get the winning goal. But they found a way, and they're still on top, and they're now 5 points ahead of Marseille in third. This is a real title challenge. They are just not either they are impressive in their victories or they are dogged in their victories. But they are showing different sides, and they are still winning.
Yeah, nobody could have expected Lens to reach that level at the start of the season because, as we said the previous week, they lost a lot of important players this summer. They changed the coach, taking Pierre Lens from the previous Lyon manager. And today, they are not brilliant, but they are a team that we can see that they all trail in the same direction.
Can you remind me who's head coach at Lens?
Pierre Sage.
Pierre Sage, of course it is.
Yeah, the famous one. It wasn't easy at Nantes last weekend, but the important thing is that they continue the streak and they remain at first place, which is really important, especially given the fact that PSG beat Rennes 5-0. Rennes, who had won
a wonderful turn of form.
Four games in a row. So they absolutely need this kind of win. And a title is being constructed with this kind of wins. So important for them.
I was going to say words for Lille, who actually are now level with Marseille on 29 points after impressive 1-0 victory against them. But Lille also their form has been very, very good recently. But I would like to, before we move away from Ligue 1, I would like to have a word on both Monaco and Strasbourg. So Strasbourg, only about, a month ago, perhaps not genuinely in the title race, but they were a good quality team. Obviously, Chelsea's little brother, as the ownership group describes it. But now that's 4 losses in 5 for Strasbourg, which is the same record as Monaco, 4 losses in 5, and freakishly the 1 victory was against Paris Saint-Germain for Monaco. It feels like these two clubs, it feels like it seems they are very much plummeting without much risk of them bouncing. But actually, I'm going to reword that to sort of ask, what signs do you see, or do you see any signs of them fixing this form, or actually do you think this is a problem that's going to take a while to fix?
To be honest, it's really difficult to find signs. If we start with Monaco, they are an inconstant team. Yesterday they beat Galatasaray in the Champions League.
Yeah, I saw that.
We don't really know why. We don't really know how, but that's a strange team. They are capable of winning against PSG, then lost to Brest, then drawn to Tottenham.
Chaos.
yeah, if you want, and if you just take a look at Pocognoli's record at Monaco, so the replacement for Adiuter. In the Champions League, it has been really good with draws against Tottenham, Manchester City. He went to win at Bodo Glimt, which is a difficult
away game. Spurs didn't win there,
yesterday he beat Galatasaray, so it's positive. But in the league, I don't know why they struggle that much.
What about Strasbourg then? Because again, like considering Liam Rosenior has been, has been heralded as one of those quality young coaches. And to be fair, like the last couple of years, it seems like absolutely. But this turn of form, because they have faced a couple of good teams. They've also faced a couple of teams they really should be beating. So it does seem like Strasbourg perhaps are losing form. Perhaps they're suffering from having so many young players.
Yeah, first Strasbourg, they struggle away from home in Ligue 1. They practically lost or drawn all their away games.
Okay, so they're the Newcastle of France. Got you.
Yeah. If you want to call them like that, I think it's okay. They're also had difficulties in the big games. They lost to Lyon. They drawn to Paris, which is in fact a good result to drawn against PSG. But they struggle. They lose to Lille also. They lose to Marseille. So the struggle.
So they're competitors as well, like so their peers.
Yeah, and they have also internal problems because I don't know if you saw they suspended Emmanuel Emega for the game against Toulouse because he had words like, I put Strasbourg on the map. I didn't know where Strasbourg were before I came. I thought it was in Germany. So making a parallel between Strasbourg and Germany, I don't think it's the best idea he could have.
What a strange way to tell people that you didn't have a decent education.
Yeah, and now he will be off until the end of the year. So there are some problems at Strasbourg, and they need to find
that kind of thing is quite. The kind of thing is going to be quite difficult if there's ever a hope for him to get back playing in the side. Making that kind of comment will be difficult to get the fans back on side. But yes, so between Lens and Lille in fourth place, there's 5-point gap. But also beneath Lille, there's a 5-point gap between them and Lyon and Rennes. Monaco on 23 and Strasbourg 22. So the big gap now for the Champions League challenges. But let's park Ligue 1 there. Bit adieu, and then move on to the Bundesliga. So Borussia Mönchengladbach might be the most informed side in Germany. They won 1-0 at Mainz, which is 4 wins in 5 matches. The other one being a draw. Yeah, another clean sheet for them. On Saturday, Bayer Leverkusen lost 2-0 at Augsburg. Terrible performance there. Heidenheim, out of absolutely nowhere, have won 2 matches in a row and climbed out of the relegation zone, winning 2-1 at home against Freiburg with the winner coming from Schwimmer in the 4th minute of stoppage time, and cue scenes there at Heidenheim. St. Pauli's run of losses has finally over. They drew 1-1 at Köln with an equaliser in the 4th minute of stoppage time there. Bayern won 5-0 at Stuttgart, who have been challenging for the Champions League spots. Bayern winning 5-0 with a hat-trick coming for Harry Kane, who came on as a substitute after the hour mark. So scoring the 66th minute, a penalty in the 82nd, and scoring the 88th minute. Also goals for Konrad Leimer and Stanisic. Wolfsburg managed to put some of their pressures on relegation away, winning 3-1 at home to Union Berlin. And RB Leipzig, again, one of the most surprisingly impressive teams this year, winning 6-0 at home against Frankfurt, a hat-trick there for Diamande. And then on Sunday, a great match between Hamburger and Werder Bremen, with Hamburger winning 3-2, and Borussia Dortmund, a nice, easy 2-0 victory over Hoffenheim. Goals for Julian Brandt and Nico Schlotterbeck either side of half-time. So, let's start with RB Leipzig, because they're currently second, 1 point ahead of Borussia Dortmund. And the more and more you watch them, they genuinely are a really exciting, fun team and impressive team to watch.
Yeah, they recorded their six consecutive home win this weekend, so impressive record. We mentioned at the start of the season their interesting new signings with young players. Jan Diomande scored a hat-trick this weekend at only he's 19. I think he already has 7 goals and 4 assists in the Bundesliga this season. And Frankfurt is the team that has conceded the most goals in the Bundesliga so far. So it's also funny if we want to say that, because I think they are the most Bundesliga coded team from an external point of view. They score.
They could win 5-4, but they could lose 6-0.
Yeah, they score a lot and they concede a lot. So funny enough. And regarding Leipzig, I think we can draw a parallel between them and AC Milan. A good team with interesting players, not having to play European football midweek. So they can
the ability to press reset and train and develop something. With the midweek to train.
And not playing European football is something quite strange for these teams, because we will not present who are AC Milan and Leipzig. They are the mother team of the Red Bull company. So they played in the Champions League semi-final in 5 years ago. If you remember, they are used to play European football, so it's unusual to see them not playing Europe this season. So they have the time to prepare. They have good players. We talked about Diomande, but Konrad Harder, their striker, is also impressive. They have experienced players such as Gulacsi in the goal, Baumgartner in the middle. So they have really interesting squad.
Excellent recruitment after selling half their players over the summer. There is a gap now building between Dortmund in third and Bayer Leverkusen in fourth, a 5-point gap after Bayer Leverkusen's damaging defeat at Augsburg. That kind of thing sort of highlights just actually how inconsistent Bayer Leverkusen are in comparison to, say, Leipzig or Dortmund, who seem to be fighting for that the best of the rest title. Whereas Bayer Leverkusen are now level with Hoffenheim, 1 point ahead of Stuttgart, 2 points ahead of Frankfurt. It does feel like the more that Bayer Leverkusen do this, the more these other teams actually could feel the possibility of sneaking that fourth Champions League spot.
Yeah, especially since they have lost to Augsburg. So it's a team in rebuilding mode, because they are sacked Sandro Wagner, who was their head coach. And now they lost 2-0, even if they hit the woodwork 3 times during that game, which is unlucky if we want. But they failed to score a single goal, and against a team like Augsburg, who is fighting for their for escaping the relegation zone, it's kind of awkward even if I think they did a good job after the sacking of Erik Ten Hag in the early season, but it's still too inconstant to fight for the second or third place.
Well, we could talk about Bayern, but Bayern are just doing Bayern things, aren't they? Right, yes. So in that case, let's park the Bundesliga. And you know what? We've only just run a little bit over, so I think we've done pretty well. So before we head off and end this episode of the European Soccer Show, how about 3 things you may have missed this week? I've got a couple that I might want to share. First of all, I'd like to draw your attention to the WSL, the Women's Super League, for something quite groundbreaking has happened, which is Chelsea have lost a match, which doesn't sound very huge considering they actually in all these years haven't won any European trophy. But to be clear, they have not lost a match for 585 days domestically, we should say, in the league, which equates to 34 matches, and they lost at home to Everton. 1-0 this weekend. But also, I'd like to highlight the fact that they are now 6 points behind Manchester City. Manchester City, who it's been a long old time since they've won a league title, but they are now 6 points clear of Chelsea. So perhaps for the first time in 7 seasons, perhaps Chelsea will not be the champions. I thought I'd bring you that way. What would you like to highlight? What may we have missed, Leo?
Just to bounce back about women's football, I think you saw that, but I've read that in the Bundesliga, the women's Bundesliga, all clubs have agreed to form a new authority and create their own championship, not depending on the DFB, but just creating like the Premier League, because
that's interesting.
Which is
so an independent competition.
Yeah, which is really interesting. What have you missed this week? Firstly,
I've got one.
Course.
Oh, sorry.
Firstly, of course, the MLS.
Yes.
With Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba having played the final games of their career.
But also Leo Messi finally getting the trophy he's always wanted.
Yeah, and have you seen the images of the victory? Jordi Alba was crying because, of course, he
end of his
played
career,
his last career
Although
game.
I did find it astonishing that Messi won the MVP. He was the first player ever to win the MVP 2 years in a running, which is more of a common thing in other, like in American sports. But yeah, it's kind of astonishing that's never happened in the MLS before.
Yeah, I didn't. I know that last season his MVP title was discussed, but this season I believe he has been
undisputed.
the undisputed player MVP holder. So yeah, great for him. The second thing you may have missed this week is that Santos, the club when
the Brazilian club that got relegated, the club of Neymar, the club of Pele.
Yeah, they had a strong finish to the season, and they managed to stay in Brazil's top division thanks to a 3-0 win over Cruzeiro. So mission accomplished for Neymar.
And maybe Neymar can work his way back into the Brazil squad.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right, in that case, I'm going to give you one more before we do trivial trivia. So a very inconsequential result for anybody who's not really paying attention. When I said Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 2. Crystal Palace winning at Fulham, not such a big deal. However, Fulham's goal from Harry Wilson is one of the most beautiful goals I have ever seen. Thing is, it's also quite subtle because you sort of like blink and you miss it. But like the link up between him and Raul Jimenez is so instinctive. It reminds me of the that incredible Jack Wilshere Arsenal goal where it's all one touch around the corner, and that's like the perfect goal. But this is something a bit different because it just comes out of absolutely nowhere, and it's Fulham. And yet, or if you've not seen it, find it on one of the video streaming services online.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't know from which part of his foot is shocking.
Yeah, it's the outside of the foot as well.
This
It's
is
just such gorgeous.
this is
Oh,
strange.
yeah.
Oh, and I have one final because I don't have rival trivia question for you. So
Okay.
final what you may have missed this week. Let's go in Scotland, where Celtic nor Rangers are top league with the out of Midlothians.
Yeah. Well, I would like to talk about this because about 7 weeks ago, there was this real talk about Hearts finally breaking this duopoly, because I think the last time it was not Celtic and Rangers was 1990, 1989, something
1985 with
85.
Aberdeen.
Yeah,
with Aberdeen.
Which is incredible. So 41 years. Although I could have sworn Aberdeen won it after that. But anyway. Yeah, so like completely impossible and ridiculous, but Hearts could have won it. So like 6-7 weeks ago, they had a nice big cushion at the top, about 7 points, but it's been slowly whittled away, and now Celtic have caught up, and everyone was just like, okay, we accept it now. Hearts have done great, probably finished second. That's still good. I mean, finishing second is still a huge thing for any club apart from Celtic Rangers. But the fact that Hearts then beat Celtic at Celtic, there's also the first time in God knows how many years, I think it's like 30 odd years, that they've won at Celtic and Rangers. So Hearts are back on top. So actually the dream lives. Is very exciting. Right, trivial trivia, and then we're going to end this absolute marathon of a stream. So I've got two little trivias for you. So first of all, a little question. Which team across the top 5 European leagues, which team has conceded the fewest goals? And this is just the league out of context. So just the league. Which team has conceded the fewest league goals across all 5 leagues?
I would go with Roma.
You'd be correct. Well done.
Yeah,
Only
I
8 goals conceded.
Yeah, I know they don't score a lot, but they don't concede a lot.
But that's the main thing. 8. Although I think they've only scored 15, which isn't great. But yeah, only 8 goals conceded, which is one fewer than Arsenal. Despite their so it's Roma at the top, then Arsenal, Munich, and AC Milan are on 9. And then on 11, it's Dortmund and Como.
And they conceded 4 this weekend.
So both Como and Roma were on 7 before this weekend. Yeah. That sort of snuck
impressive.
Up how Como have been. But the next question is a real doozy, and this goes along with the number of red cards we've been seeing recently. Which
Liga, France, and Lyon.
Which club across all top 5 European leagues, which club has received the most red cards?
Lyon are the top team in France with 5. This is what I know.
Lyon are joint second.
Real Oviedo have...
Well done, Real Oviedo. They've got 6 red cards in 16 matches.
Imagine a game between Lyon and Real Oviedo. The game
you might just take the ball away, just let them fight it. For context, we joke about the fact that Chelsea have had 7, but that's if you include Enzo Maresca. But that's over 22 matches across all competitions, whereas Oviedo, it's 16, which again is just absolutely mad. But we'll leave it there on that little bombshell. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you for sending in the comments. Thank you, Tony, for posing that question about Moreira going off to Liverpool, because he won't, but who knows where he'll end up. Certainly not Leon. Yes, but thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you once again, Leo, for joining me. Make sure you follow us, subscribe, all of that nonsense, and we will be back probably earlier next week, assuming that I'm not off donating blood or sick or locked out of my house or any of those things. So, Leo, please join me next week, won't you?
I will. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
I will, of course, be here because I'm not allowed outside anymore. So, until then, have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the football.
Goodbye, everybody.